Hello there, and welcome to Inside the Keyway. Every episode we'll be looking at the NBL, stepping into the paint to break down what's really happening, the rotations, the defensive schemes, the import impact, and the plays that swing seasons. If you love the NBL, you're in the right place. Hopefully we sound like we know what we're talking about. So sit back, settle in, and let's step inside the Keyway. I'm Cameron Porlock, and as always, I'm joined by Nathan Shaw. Welcome, Nathan.
Cameron, thank you for having me back for another week.
It's okay. So we had 3 games this past week. We're going to have a look at a game each. The 2 games that we reviewed last week each, and then we both watched the play-in game. So what did you make of the seeding qualifier?
So with that Tuesday night, we had Southeast Melbourne and Perth. I think this time last week I boldly predicted that Perth would win.
Me too.
Yeah, they didn't even get close today. I took some notes during the game. I'll just run through them here, but I think the main point, I've heard a lot of people in the media talk about it since Southeast Melbourne's full court pressure from the first second of the game. Perth just couldn't deal. I think that early on in the first quarter, Perth tried to play Southeast Melbourne at their own game, get the ball up the court as fast as they could and shoot a 3. Put up a shot in the first 10 seconds of the shot clock. Varying results. I think they had, actually, I've got it here, they had 6 3-pointers in the first quarter, but they also had 6 turnovers. And for a while, they were going 3-pointer, turnover, 3-pointer, turnover. Southeast Melbourne were just up and in from the very beginning. I had John Brown III's name written down here. I think he only got credited for 2 or 3 steals in the game, but just the amount of turnovers that occur when he is just present is just up and in. He was on Doolittle a lot of the game. It's something else I'll get to in a minute. But Doolittle was bringing the ball up the court for Perth a lot of the time. And he had a couple of turnovers where just Brown was just up in his grill. And it was just stepped over the sideline or the ball bounced off his foot. Those sort of turnovers that Brown's not directly responsible for. But yeah, it should be credited for that sort of thing. Henschel and Pepper, very, very quiet. I guess they started over Duke Jr., which Perth have been doing for a while now, and it has been working. But in this situation, I don't think either of those guys were equipped to bring the ball up the court. And then just the pressure they're under when they did get the ball in their offensive set, they both had really quiet nights. Southeast Melbourne, I think the point that I made last week was if Southeast Melbourne aren't hitting the threes, do they have a backup plan? Of course they've got a backup plan. They were scoring under the hoop. They were just taking it to the paint. Yeah. The threes eventually started dropping, but yeah, first quarter, it was all in the paint.
Yeah, I agree. I think they adjusted quite well with their 3-point shooting not working. And I don't think we've really seen that from them this season, which is why you questioned it, is when that dries up, what are they going to do? And yeah, they did great at getting into the paint. Yeah, Perth just couldn't stop it.
And one of the real problems for Perth was JLA. I think 3 fouls. He had his 3rd foul early in the second quarter, sat out until halftime. So at halftime, he was on 3 fouls and 0 points. And like we spoke about last week, getting him involved in the game was one of the keys to Perth winning. Hunter had been pretty out of form. It would have been great if JLA could have hit the board early, but yeah, he was a non-contributor in the first half. And the other thing I want to mention is Doolittle, how hard that guy works and had to work in that game. He was bringing the ball up the court, effectively running, every play was run through him. It was run by him for himself. Like he just had to. He was going to the hoop. He was, bringing the ball up the court with John Brown, the 3rd on him. He just looked exhausted by halftime, and it was out of necessity. There was no one else really stepping up when love was quiet. Duke Jr., he's good when when the offense is set in the half court. He can run the offense, but just doesn't seem to be able to get the ball up the court, just like all their other guards, other than Doolittle. So yeah, it was Southeast Melbourne killed him really. Yeah. And Perth, just the same old story. Perth's lack of a point guard is a problem, and I'm sure it's something they will address in the off-season.
17 turnovers for the game certainly hurt them. And when I went and had a look at the stats, if you kind of look at it, most of the stats were kind of fairly even across the board. The one thing that I think Perth struggled to get shots up, so they shot a decent percentage, but in terms of their attempts was way down compared to Phoenix. Those turnovers just were what really hurt them, I think, in the end. And then, not getting contributions out of Pepper and Henschel, which, we'll talk about the other game that they played, but that was also an issue there as well for them.
Yep. Southeast Melbourne on to play Adelaide.
Yep.
And that sent Perth into the actual play-in game on Saturday night.
Yes, yep. So we'll get to those in a little bit. So I watched the play-in qualifier, which was Melbourne United versus the Jack Jumpers, which obviously United won that. I thought the Jack Jumpers came out and made it a really gritty game right at the start. They dictated the tempo early, and that got them off to a great start. And United missing Edwards, I thought, really hurt them. And so Bannon was able to take full advantage of that. You could just see, though, that he played so many minutes that it looked like he was starting to get really tired as the game went on. I'm pretty certain he played the entire first quarter. He didn't get a break, and I think it wasn't until sort of mid-second quarter when he finally got a bit of a rest. And you could see that it was having an effect as he started to miss a lot of those shots that he would normally make, sort of those little hook shots and stuff that he's got. And so, he finished with 16 points, but he was 6 of 17 from the field, so you could sort of see that tiredness there coming through. On the defensive end, I think the Jack Jumpers did a good job in keeping United off the three-point line, but without a legitimate Keyway defender, they struggled to keep United off the rim. And so United really exploited this really well, especially in that second quarter, which sort of got them in front. And then once they sort of got in front, even though the Jack Jumpers were, always in touch, I just didn't feel like they had the legs to sort of make a run and sort of maintain that run to get back in front. But they still, pretty gutsy effort from them to keep in touch for most of the game, and it was only really towards the end where they really started to die off. Delaney was huge for United. He had, I believe it was a career high 33 points. The Jack Jumpers just had nothing to stop him, and that just came down to the bodies that they had. They didn't really have enough. They had, I believe it was a 9-man squad, and I think they really only used a 7-man rotation for most of the game. I think the last 3 or the last 2 got on late towards the end when the game was pretty much done and dusted. So
Richards and Woodhill got 47 seconds each.
Yeah.
So, and even none off the bench was the 7th man, played 4 minutes 40. Yeah. So it was almost a 6-man rotation.
Yeah. And so unfortunately their bench, couldn't really give them a lot. They had 0 points off the bench, which that was one of my key things for coming into the game, that it was going to be a battle of the benches. And unfortunately, when you're that depleted, that has a big effect on what you're bringing in off your bench and how many people you can use. Nick Marshall played all 40 minutes of the game. I thought he fought quite valiantly, 20 points. So, he did his job. I don't think you could ask for any more out of him. I thought Doyle played okay for United. He had 19 points, but I thought he was relatively quiet for good chunks of the game. And that seems to be now a big question around him, is that over the past couple seasons, that seems to be what you're seeing more and more of him, is that he has large chunks where he's just not doing a lot. He kind of needs to be showing that he can be aggressive for the whole game. So, but, otherwise, the only other person in double figures for United was Krebs. I thought he did well for his minutes. I would have liked to have seen him get a bit more. And I didn't mind them starting Goulding. over him. But then once sort of Goulding, you could see that he was struggling with his shot, and even the next game he struggled as well. I definitely would have been throwing Krebs in a lot more and getting him going. And Johnson was okay for the Jack Jumpers as well, but once again, I would have liked to have seen him more aggressive. The times that he did look like he was going at the rim, I thought was really, it was really good. Got the JJs going in the right way, but just not enough. So yeah,
he could have taken over, couldn't he? He could have become his team.
I really think he could have taken over.
But it's Bannon's team at the moment with that lineup. It's Bannon's running the show for them.
Yeah. So unfortunately, that's the end of the Jack Jumpers season.
Assuming Magno comes back, not sure if he will. He might get overseas offers. He might finally take them. Do you bring back Johnson, Campbell, and
Hamilton? I'd be bringing back Hamilton for certain.
Yeah.
I'm not sure on Campbell, and you could maybe roll the dice with Johnson for one more season, considering he had an interrupted season. I'd probably look to move Campbell on, especially considering they really only brought him in to replace Sean McDonald. So I'd probably move him on if Magnay's coming back.
Yeah.
And because you'll have McDonald next season for them. I assume that he will be back for them next season. So, and then that gives you that sort of backup import position that
your Marcus Lee type.
Yeah, something like that if you want at the centre, because that's where they definitely need to improve on.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I'd bring definitely Hamilton if he's fit for next season. I'm not sure. It's an ACL, so I don't know if he will be fit again. Johnson I'd bring back, and I think Tiger Campbell, like you said, was a bit of a late call-up. Probably not what they would have done if they could have, if they had their optimum team, but backup centre is key. I agree with everything you said there.
Yeah. So then we went into the play-in game, which was Perth versus United at the RAC Arena on Saturday, which Perth won. What did you make of the game?
I thought Melbourne would be better. They weren't convincing against Tassie, and they started well, but I just thought Southeast Melbourne provided a blueprint on what to do against Perth, and Melbourne didn't really do it. Either maybe they don't have the players to do it, maybe they don't have the fitness to do it, but they didn't do it. JLA, I think he had 28. He did have 28 and 12. Thybulle was excellent again. Windler was really good. Most of my points on this one are probably, I talked about Perth a lot. I've got a lot of questions for you about Melbourne on this one, but we'll get to that. If you give us your point of view on the game, I'll ask you my Melbourne United questions. But Perth were just too good, and Melbourne didn't really. After they started well, they hung with them for a while, but once Perth put the foot down, that was the end for Melbourne.
Yeah, it was interesting because coming into this game, Melbourne had won 10 of the last 13 at RAC Arena. So sort of odds were in Melbourne's favour. But clearly I am not sure if they were quite up for the game with such a quick turnaround from the game against the Jack Jumpers. And in all honesty, against the Jack Jumpers, it didn't necessarily look great anyway to begin with. So the first quarter was fairly even. United really weren't able to control Doolittle at all. And then the second quarter, United looked really great. They were moving the ball around, playing up tempo, and Perth just weren't dealing with it.
Mm-hmm.
And then come the third quarter, it's like they stopped doing what was working. And obviously Doolittle came out in that third a lot more aggressive than what he had been in the second quarter. And, Perth ran away with it in the end. So, like I said, United went away from what was working well.
And that was Jesse Edwards. Jesse Edwards is what was working well in the second quarter.
I also feel like they they started, instead of moving the ball around, they'd just run down and started jacking up shots. Which, you know, that's not what they were doing in that second quarter. They were getting that ball from side to side. They were moving it through hands, trying to find the best option. And Perth just didn't seem to have an answer for that. So I don't know why you would then go away from that. And I think Vickerman even called that out in one of their timeouts to get back to doing those things. So, yeah, and like you said, you know, JLA and Doolittle, massive games both. But, yeah, Goulding...
Windler as well.
Yeah, Windler as well came in and started to knock down shots. I'm still not too sure how he's playing with that plantar fasciitis, because I know what that's like to try and play, like just even do general day-to-day things with plantar fasciitis. So I'm sure they've got him shot up with a bit of cortisone, but you don't want to be doing that too often, because that makes that worse. So not something I'd be wanting to do too often. And yeah, but once again, you know, with United, they didn't really get much from anyone. Delaney wasn't anywhere near what he did against the Jack Jumpers.
No, I think I'm just looking at the box score here, which I didn't really notice on the night. Walker and Doyle had 13, was top scorer. Then Walker and Edwards had 12 each. That's it for double figures. Delaney had 7. Goulding had 7.
So, yeah, they really did struggle to put the ball in the hole. Doyle, in particular, I thought he was more aggressive than what he was in the Jack Jumpers game, but he just wasn't making the shots.
Yeah.
And Goulding, you know, his form slump towards the back end of this season, he really struggled again to hit buckets when needed. I know there's questions now whether he returns again next season for them and in what capacity.
That's one of the questions I've got for you there.
Sweet. Well, let's throw some questions
right,
and we'll see what we got.
Well, the first one, I don't think you've got an answer to, because if you do, you're meant for bigger things than this. They started 9-0. Honestly, what happened? What happened to end the way they did? I don't expect an answer from you, but that's probably the theme of my questions here. Like, what on earth happened in the second half or last 2/3 of the season?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of things. I think people worked Edwards out a little bit more. Plus, he started getting called for the fouls more, so he wasn't on court as much, because he was massive for them in those first 9 games. I think I said last week, you know, people had him as the best centre in the league.
Yeah.
At that stage. Walker sort of died off a little bit with his scoring. Still pretty good defensively, but scoring power wasn't as good. Doyle became inconsistent again. I think there were some issues there in the team in terms of him and his fit with them. And then obviously Goulding nowhere near, you know, missing him for a period of time, and then him coming back in and throwing that equilibrium out where Krebs was playing really well. That created clearly some issues there. And then Illy. I thought Illy was good for them when he was there. So all of those things together just really threw them out in a dynamic sort of way. So it wasn't just any one thing that sort of, blew up in their face, basically.
And I'm sure we'll deep dive on them in a few weeks' time. But I just don't know what you change. I was thinking about it. If I was constructing their roster for next season, I'd almost bring everyone back. Like, Doyle was still their MVP for the season. Edwards and Walker, if they want to come back, I'd have them both back. Goulding's going to make his own call. You're not telling him he's got to go. Delaney, I don't know if he's contracted or not, but again, I mean, you saw what he can do the other night against Tassie, but you'd be keeping him around as well. And there's even talk I saw this week that maybe Vickerman might head to Asia next season.
Yeah.
So maybe that's the change that's coming. But roster-wise, I'm just not sure what I would change about them.
I think there's maybe their bench a little bit more. I think they need a little bit more coming off that bench. I'd be moving... If Goulding's comes back, And as you said, it'd be his decision whether he is or not. I think if he says I'm good to go again, they'll bring him back. I think he needs to come off the bench as a full-time off the bench type thing. And I'd be moving Krebs into that starting lineup. I think he's earned that chance now. And he showed it early on in the season that he's more than capable. So, yeah, throw him into the starting lineup, move Goulding to your bench, and, yeah, maybe change up a couple of your bench options. I don't know if... trying to remember his name now, but there's one that they were bringing off. Because I know they had Wilson, didn't they?
Bowen? Yeah, Bowen, do you mean?
Yeah, Bowen, I think, gives you some good minutes when he comes on. He's still a little bit inconsistent. But I think if that Tom Wilson's position, I think if you maybe look at bringing someone in that you can trust a little bit more, he might get better the more he plays. I don't know, but yeah, maybe swapping him out for someone that you can trust a little bit more to come on and give you some scoring punch. So I didn't mind Krislovic. I quite like Krislovic coming off the bench.
Yeah, he does his job. And United being United, if they're obviously they will be unhappy that they're not even making the final four, they'll go and spend on someone. Like they might find an Australian point guard somewhere, play them at the point, and then bring back up. Because I'm not sure, I don't know about Illy. He's hardly played this year. He played 4 minutes against Melbourne. Against Perth. So maybe an import back up. Because from memory, Walker was supposed to be coming off the bench at the start of the year, was the idea.
Yes.
So they are happy to go down that path. So maybe that's something we'll look at if Walker's not coming back.
Yeah, Illy's in one of those positions. I think there's a few players out there, Magnay, Sam McDaniel and so forth, that you've now got to sort of start questioning their durability in the league and whether they're worth signing and whether they're worth big contracts. They might still be worth signing, but maybe not for as much as what you're signing them for.
Yeah.
And moving them into slightly smaller roles.
Yeah.
Just because their durability is now in question.
Well, they missed having that backup point guard a lot. And maybe that was one of the main reasons that they fell off the cliff like they did. But they'll be a really good watch. I mean, and it's Melbourne. Like I said, they'll just often just spend to get themselves out of trouble, which is very frustrating as a non-Melbourne United supporter.
Yeah.
But we'll see. We'll see what they do.
Yeah. Question for you.
Yeah.
If Vickerman goes, who do you think comes in as head coach?
Who's the assistant there currently who took over for those couple of games that Vickerman was away? His name escapes me right now.
Barlow?
He's there. No, it's the other guy.
Oh, okay. I'm not too sure who their other assistant is.
When Vickerman had his appendix out.
Around. Yeah. I've heard Barlow's name being thrown around a little bit as potentially coming in.
Reece Carter is something else. Reece Carter.
Oh, yep.
But also it's Melbourne, so they might go to market and pull in a big name from somewhere. I mean, Gleason's around.
Every team wants Gleason.
You just would, wouldn't you? Like he's proven.
Yeah.
He was at Melbourne maybe during the Tigers days, wasn't he?
Yes, he was.
Yeah, so I talked to him. I was surprised to hear that Vickerman, if it's even true, that Vickerman is looking. I mean, sure, go and cash in overseas, but geez, he's set something up really good there. They are the benchmark off the court. So it would be a shame to see him go, but I guess we'll just see what happens.
Yeah, it'd be interesting because I believe he also does a little bit of the GM of basketball work as well for that team. So, you lose him as coach, but you're also kind of losing that GM of basketball role a little bit in the way that their teams are constructed and so forth. So I think that could hurt them if he does go. But you would understand, if Japan are offering the dollars, why would you not
That's it.
I've heard. And that's why, Andre Lamanos is still over there.
Yeah.
They keep chucking good money at him, and he's happy to
One
stay
more
there.
year. One more year. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it'd be good to see Melbourne promote one of the assistant coaches, have an Australian. There's not many Australian coaches in the NBL, so it'd be really good. They seem to have the culture and everything set up well enough for one of these guys to step in.
Yeah.
They seem like the sort of club who could do that. So fingers crossed. But we'll keep an eye on that one.
Yep. So what else have you got for me?
I've got nothing else for you. That's the end of my notes. There's not much else going on, I don't think.
Yeah, so let's move on to the playoff series, and we'll start off with the 36ers versus the Phoenix. So game 1 is on Tuesday, March 10th in Adelaide. We'll just look at the 3 games. So because NBL thankfully have released the full schedule. Game 2 is on Saturday, March 14th in Melbourne, and then game 3, if needed, is Tuesday, March 17, and that'll be back in Adelaide. How do you see this series going?
Yeah, it's a tough one. I've been going back and forth on this one. I want to say my heart says Phoenix. They have had the number on the wood on Adelaide for the last few games they played. Actually, they hammered them down in Adelaide in the last one they played. So I'd like to think Phoenix, but I think Adelaide are going to be very well rested. Yeah, I think it'll go to 3 games. I feel like Adelaide will get game 1. I feel like Phoenix will get game 2 back at home, and then game 3 I guess we'll see, which is quite obvious, stating the obvious there. But I just don't even know who I think is going to win. I can't confidently say anyone, but I'm going to go with my heart and say Phoenix because they seem to have Adelaide's measure.
Yeah, you don't think that the time delay since Adelaide last played is going to hurt them for game 1 at all?
They may start rusty, but that Adelaide crowd, they've got the crowd there. It'll pick them up pretty quickly. I don't think it'll take them too long. Yeah, it's just a really good series. I know last week I was trying to line everything up so that the series didn't happen, but now that it's happening, I'm buying into it, and it should be good. And I don't think they particularly like each other either.
Yeah. Yep. Who do you think they're going to throw on Cotton?
Foxwell did a really good job on Henshaw the other day. Obviously, it's a very different assignment, but I think Foxwell would be the first guy you'd go to there.
Yeah. Do you think they'll? How often do you think they'll double team him?
It seems to be the way to do it. I think the teams that have had success against Adelaide lately have been doubling him. And Phoenix are fit and not scared to keep rotating players to keep him moving. So I think he'll be doubled a fair bit.
Because that's my thing. I think if they can get the ball out of his hands, I don't know if I trust Adelaide to have the weapons then to, actually put the ball in the hole as easily. I think Adelaide's advantage in this game is actually their front court in Bryce and
Cheatham.
No, the guy, I always struggle with his name.
Ratkovic.
Yeah, Reksivovic.
We should have done the research.
To everyone, I hate I know the name, I can never say it. The guy that Terry Taylor put in a headlock. That's how I just remember him now. Because he had started to look good towards the end of the season there. Ever since the headlock incident, actually, he had started to look really good. It's like that fired him up a little bit. So I think that's where sort of Adelaide have an advantage with Hunter not playing overly well of late.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm with you. I'm actually leaning towards Phoenix taking this. And I'm not sure if it's going to make game 3. I feel Adelaide are going to come out a little bit rusty in this one, in the first game, and Phoenix are going to catch them off guard, especially after you saw their defense against Perth the other night. I know Perth are a different beast in that they don't have decent ball handlers, but I think once you kind of get that ball out of Cotton's hand, I don't necessarily trust any of their other ball handlers either.
Yeah, the same. There's no point guard. Is there no natural point guard?
Yeah. So I'm actually going to go Phoenix in 2.
I like it. I like it. I think another reason that I lean towards Phoenix is I think Josh King is a much better in-game coach than Mike Wells, who makes adjustments on the fly. And I'm not sure if Cotton's shut down. I'm not sure Wells is as great as King at making those changes on the run.
Yeah, I agree. And that's part of my thing, especially if the game's close on the line. I think King has a better understanding of what changes he needs to make to get the team over the line. Whereas Wells, you've kind of seen him struggle with those decisions late in games.
I think Adelaide have players who can, Cheatham, DJ, even Humphreys, they've got game players who can go for 30 on any given night. But Southeast Melbourne's defence is just so up and in. Overall, like we've said, I think Phoenix will get there, but I just feel like Adelaide might start well.
Yeah.
But hey, what do I know? I thought Perth would beat Southeast Melbourne last week.
Yeah, I'm also not a big fan of Adelaide's defence. I think they lack a little bit there. And so I expect Phoenix's 3-point shooting to improve this game, at least in the first game, which is why I think they'll get the first game and then they'll head to Melbourne. And once they're in Melbourne, I can't see Adelaide beating them in Melbourne.
I agree with the defence. I mean, Kenyon is probably the only guard who I would trust. To be honest, I mean, he's got Sobey and Glover that he'll have to deal with a lot of the time. Jenkins, DJ and Cotton probably not known for their defence would be a nice way to say it.
Yes. Yeah. So we've both got Phoenix, but you've got them in 3 and I've got them in 2.
Yeah. So what's that? Tuesday night.
Yes, Tuesday, March 10th.
10th, tomorrow.
For game 1. Yeah, so tomorrow night, as we're recording on Monday. And then Saturday is game 2, so we've got a couple games to watch. And then we move on and we've got the playoff series 2, which is Kings versus Perth. So we've got game 1, which is Wednesday, March 11, so that's going to be in Sydney. We've got game 2, which is also on Saturday, March 14th. That'll be back in Perth. And then game 3, if needed, is on Wednesday, March 18th, back in Sydney. So your thoughts on this game, on this series?
I don't think game 3 will be needed for this series. I didn't even write the third game down there. Sydney, I wouldn't be surprised if Sydney didn't lose again this season. They just have hit their straps at exactly the right time. They were looking so good and they brought Torrey Craig in just as a cherry on top. He doesn't even have to do anything a lot of the time, but if basically the whole starting 5, anyone in the starting 5 is having a quiet game, he can step up and do the job himself. Gorgon, just the greatest we've seen. Amazing that I'm getting ahead of myself. I feel like they'll win the whole thing, and it would be amazing to see him win a championship in 2026 after, I've been watching him since 1991. I think his first one was 92 with the Magic. So for the same guy to still be going and still dominating in this era, amazing.
Yeah, I agree. I'm with you. I don't think game 3 is going to be needed either. I just think Kings defense will swallow Perth. They're going to struggle to get the ball up again like they did against Phoenix. You've got Cooks probably going on to Doolittle. Suarez is very, very good at getting in JLA's head. You saw the last game they played it towards the end of the season. That was clearly a thing, and I think Suarez will go back to that again.
Yeah.
He does really good at keeping JLA off his game. And then I don't think there's anyone in this league that can actually stop Davis.
No. He's
shown time and time again that no one can stay in front of him. And he just has the ability, if the rest of his team aren't necessarily scoring, he will make a bucket when they need it. He just has that ability. He's just like, okay, you're not scoring, I'll get in, do my thing, settle us down, make a couple buckets here and there, and then he'll start getting the others involved again. And I'm like you, Torrey Craig for them is just that, he's an X factor for them.
Yeah.
that I don't think any other team has coming into these finals playoffs. He's able to do a little bit of everything, and like you said, if he's not needed, he can just sit back and do his thing. You know, he defends extremely well no matter what. But if you need him to score, his 3-point shooting has gotten a lot better.
Yeah, I definitely have noticed that. And then you got Malawatch, you got Noi, you got Deladova. It's
a scary proposition. They can throw anyone at you. You know, even Sean Bruce coming off the bench down the line these days, he's still able to come in defensively and give you what you need of him. And he's sneaky with his scoring as well. You know, if you leave him open, he's going to knock a 3 down.
Yeah.
So I think having Robertson out a little bit hurts them, but they've got enough weapons that I think they've got Perth in too.
I think so as well. I mean, I feel like this is a Perth podcast. We've talked about Perth for 70% of our time so far. But Doolittle again is going to have to carry the load. Doolittle and JLA, they're going to need Pepper and Henschel to do a lot more than they did in the last 2 games.
Yeah, I've got that in my note. Is Pepper and Henschel both need to step it up, especially if they just want to make it a 3-game series. They need to show up every game and give. Like Pepper needs to be shooting the way he was for the Boomers, basically. Yeah,
absolutely. And I think again, coaches obviously Gorge is Gorge, and he's on a level above.
Yeah,
I think Riley's done a good job this year, but I think with the changes that they went through, with the import changes, Riley's been good with what he's got, but I don't think that they're up to beating Sydney.
Yep, I agree. So we've both got Sydney in 2. So that's pretty much us for the playoff series. I've got a few questions for you from things that I've been out listening to the world of podcasts, basketball podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
And so one of the ones that I listen to is the Timeout No Flop Zone with Body Nodge and Joey Wright.
Yep.
So Joey believes that if the Boomers had to choose between Bryce Cotton and Matisse Thybulle, he'd be choosing Bryce Cotton. What do you think? Do you agree, or do you think Joey's a little bit crazy there?
I think Joey might be crazy there. I think there's enough. This is questions without notice. I think that's tough. Internationally, Cotton would have a much tougher time on the international stage, and he's not bringing it defensively. We've probably I'd have to look at that team, but I feel like we'd have enough other scorers. You'd be getting Cotton for his scoring, and that's it. Or we may have that covered. I think defensively, he'd be leaving us short, so I'm going to say Joey's crazy there.
Okay, sweet. Yeah, I'm kind of in agreement. I think he's a little crazy. I just think Matisse's defense and his length, you need that on the international stage. And like you said, we've got enough scorers these days that I think you can get away with not needing Bryce. I think Bryce for the FIBA window games, like what we've just been through, if he's available, then yes, but not on the Olympic stage.
No.
I just don't think that's where he is needed. So second question I've got for you. So there was a Legends game last weekend. I'm not too sure if you saw any of that. It was
Melbourne Tigers.
Well, it was a Legends game, so full like Legends of the NBL.
Yeah.
It was for bowel cancer.
Yeah. I saw that one of the teams was the full Melbourne Tigers lineup.
Yeah. So I've got a question. So do you think the NBL should jump on board here and help push it?
Yeah.
And maybe take the game around the country, rotating sort of players and teams, maybe for each city. You know, you could bring it to Brisbane and make one team Bullets Legends versus the others, and help raise funds for a good cause.
I would go and watch the All Bullets team. I think it's a great idea, and I'm not sure it could be a standalone game. It might have to be It's like in Brisbane, I don't know how many people would go to that in Brisbane, for example. Like Melbourne's a different story. Yeah. If it was attached to a Bullets game, I think that would be great. Would be exciting. I'd love to see it. I still get excited at a Bullets game if they bring an old team on court at halftime.
Yeah. Maybe even make it a game before the game.
Yeah, exactly. That sort of thing.
On a Saturday game, bring them in before and, throw them on court and actually have a full game before the game.
Maybe if our podcast takes off, we can even play or coach each team or something.
That'd be good. I could coach. I've coached under 14s. I could deal with that. I don't know what I'm doing, but
I'll play. I'll have a game.
Yeah. So third question is, what do you make of the US college system now allowing players who have already played professional basketball to come back and start joining teams? Just like Owen Foxwell.
Yeah, it's not good for the NBL Next Star program, is it? It's going to cause some problems there. Imagine how dirty people like Peter Hooley are, who have been through the college system and got nothing, and now these people are making like life-changing money out of it. Yeah, I don't like it. I don't watch too much college basketball. Sometimes it's on KO during the day, and I'll put it on in the background. So I don't know how it's going to affect the product because I'm not up to date with it enough. But NBL, as far as the NBL goes, I don't think it's great news.
Yeah,
I mean, to have someone like Foxwell leaving now, I mean, great, good on him. Why wouldn't you take that money? But yeah, it's not great for the NBL, and obviously the Next Stars program is going to find it a lot harder to bring people in.
Yeah, I'm hearing that Tristan Devers for the Bullets could potentially be heading over as well for the money. So yeah, I agree for the Next Stars program and just for the NBL's development programs as well. I think that it's going to really start hurting in that space with these types of players going over to earn money, which you can't fault them for.
No.
They've got to start earning now. And as has sort of been talked about, is once they get to that point in time where they're no longer allowed to play, it may benefit the league a little bit more in that you're able to bring them back and know that they've already got a bit of money that they can live off, so you're not having to worry about paying them too much. And then that might stop them from heading to places like Japan and so forth for even more money. So that's what I'm hoping anyway, because when we get to look at the Bullets later on, I've got a player that I'd like to bring back from the college system, and that's what I'd be hoping, is that he's already earned enough that you could bring him back.
Yeah. They're good questions, Cameron. Very good questions. I'm going to have to try and get you with some next week with no notice.
It's just been as things have popped up that I'm like, I'm going to make some notes. You see, you need to read the run sheet so you know what I've got.
No, I think we should make it a segment called Questions Without Notice. I'm writing that down.
That's our new Questions Without Notice. That's what we'll call this section.
That's excellent. I definitely stole that from a radio show that I've listened to.
Excellent. So I think we've covered everything. Is there anything else you've got?
No, I'm looking forward to watching some semi-finals. I enjoyed the knockout games, but I do like a series. I do like a best of three.
Yeah, me too. I'm looking forward to both series. So they kick off tomorrow night. So I just want to say thank you to everyone who has watched our first episode and shared our first episode and showed us some appreciation. Shout out to Michael, who left us a nice comment on YouTube. And so that's it for this episode of Inside the Keyway. If you enjoyed the episode and the last episode, make sure that you subscribe so you never miss an episode. And as always, share it with someone who loves the NBL as much as you do. We're on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts, and they do push out to other podcast sort of platforms. And you can find us on the socials. So we're on Facebook, Instagram, and X, all as Inside the Keyway. And if you've got any questions or thoughts, just please leave them in the comments for us. And until next time, keep watching the space, respect the shot clock, and we'll see you inside the Keyway.
See you next week.